All right, so we're going to talk about how to find the axis of symmetry and the vertex of a parabola. All right, so those are our learning targets. Before we get going today, I want you to take a look at this picture. How many staples are in the strip on the right there, do you think? Okay. So again, we're going to learn how to find the axis of symmetry, which is just a line of symmetry that cuts the parabola in half, and how to find the vertex of a quadratic function. We're going to do this if you're given standard form or vertex form, a reminder of what those look like from our last lesson. Okay, so vertex form, here's an example of vertex form y equals 4 times the quantity x plus 2 squared minus 3. Well, can we convert this into standard form? Yes, you can. And in order to do that, you have to do a little algebra. So really the first step is to just take x plus 2 squared. So that would be x plus 2 times x plus 2. Do a little distribution, right? A little bit of this. Okay. And figure out what you get. So you get, after you do a little math here, you get this, okay? So now, if I take this and replace it with x squared plus 4x plus 4, now over here, now I can start to look at what I've got. So then I would have the 4 in front times x squared plus 4x plus 4, and then minus 3. Distribute. I would get 4x squared plus 16x plus 16 minus 3, and then combine those like terms at the end. 16 minus 3 is 13. And so when all is said and done, we get y equals 4x squared plus 16x plus 13. Okay, so now let's just take a look here at these two, right? I've got this is vertex form, and this is standard form. So these two right here are exactly the same parabola, just in different forms. Like very similar to having like a fraction and a decimal. They represent the same thing, they just look different. So same thing here. These are the same, they look different, different forms. You'll notice a couple of things. The a value in front here is still the same, okay? You'll also notice that they're both quadratic functions because of that squared right there. Those are kind of the key things that they share. We're going to talk about some other features of both of these and some of the advantages to vertex form and some of the advantages to standard form. Okay? All right. And we're really going to focus today mostly on the axis of symmetry and the vertex. So a reminder, the axis of symmetry is that orange line right down the middle there. Now, in this particular case, this axis of symmetry is always going to be a vertical line because a parabola opens up or down. It looks like a U or upside down U. So this one, it's always going to be x equals some number for the equation. In this case, this would be x equals 1. It would be the axis of symmetry. Okay? And then the vertex of this parabola would be the point, let's see, it would be 1, comma, negative 4. Now, one thing that I want you to notice there is that this number and this number are the same. That's because the axis of symmetry always passes through the vertex, so those will always, the x values will always be the same. When you write the equation for an axis of symmetry, make sure you have the x, okay? So a couple of things at the bottom, I wrote the axis of symmetry is a vertical line, so you know the equation is always going to be x equals some number, okay? And then the axis of symmetry passes through the vertex, so the vertex is going to be whatever that question mark will be, and then some y value, okay, that you'll have to find. So, okay. Those are important points. You'll see how they come up as we move forward here. All right, so here are some comparisons between vertex form and standard form. This is also, I put this in Schoology, so you have this slide you can download. But a couple of things. Vertex form is very nice for a couple of reasons. It tells you the vertex pretty easily, and the axis of symmetry is pretty easy to find. They do share something that's the same. So when it does it open up or down, you know, like we said, they both show the A here value. So remember, if A is positive, it opens up. Okay? One way to remember this is this kind of looks like a smiley face. Okay? And if you're feeling happy, if you're feeling positive, you're smiling, right? If you're feeling a little bit negative, then it might be more like this. It's upside down. So that's one way to remember happy parabola is when A is positive. When it's negative, when A is negative, it's a sad parabola upside down, okay? Now, that same thing applies for standard form. The A value is still going to control the width and whether it opens up or down. Okay, now, vertex form, it's pretty easy to find the axis of symmetry. It's a vertical line, so x equals h, whatever the h value is. And then the vertex is just hk. So h and k, if you can identify that, you're good. Just be careful. Remember, h will be opposite of what you see. Okay? For standard form, it's a little more tricky. Okay? You have to use this formula here to find the axis of symmetry. Once you know what that x value is, that will be the same. Okay? Just like the other one. Just like these are the same. Okay? But then you'll have to plug that in back into the equation to find y. Okay, so standard form, that's not one of the advantages, is finding the vertex. Okay, or the axis of symmetry isn't too hard, but the vertex takes a little bit longer. Okay, however, to find the y-intercept, which we'll talk next time, the standard form, it's a little easier to find the y-intercept. It's super easy. Okay, so advantages to both. This is an important slide for you to have, so that's why I gave it to you in Schoology. All right, so it says here, find the axis of symmetry and the vertex of each quadratic function in vertex form. So here is vertex form right here, okay? Now, on the previous slide, I said, right, axis of symmetry is x equals h, vertex is the ordered pair h comma k. All right, so I just kind of brought that down here and just wrote it right here. It's not a division symbol, that was just copied from the previous thing. So to find the axis of symmetry, you want to find your h value. Remember, your h value is right here. But because of that negative sign in front, you have to be careful. It's going to be the opposite of what you see. Always, when you do an axis of symmetry, it's a line. It's a vertical line. So the axis of symmetry here is x equals and whatever this is. So this is 5, but remember it's the opposite of that because of that negative. So this is going to be -5. Okay. So then what is the vertex? It says the vertex is hk. Well, we already know the h is -5. What's my k value? Right there, that's normal, right? If you look here, k has a plus sign in front of it, so we're good. So this is just going to be -8. Okay, so that's your axis of symmetry, x equals -5, and your vertex -5, comma, -8. Don't forget this x equals, or it's not a line if you don't put that x equals, so make sure that's there. Okay, so that's all you have to do. So then what would this be? X equals what? So this would be +2, and my vertex would be 2, 5. And that's it. So the vertex form is really nice to find the vertex. That's why it's called vertex form. It also is pretty easy to find the axis of symmetry. Okay. Now, standard form is a little bit more work, but not a ton, okay? You do have a little bit more going on. In order to find the axis of symmetry, this is from that slide right there too. To find the axis of symmetry, you're going to have to go through and use this little formula, which is x equals, right? Because it's a vertical line, you know it's going to be x equals. And this is the opposite of b over 2 times a, okay? So when we say B, we're talking about what numbers here and here, B and A, right? Okay, so that's where you'll have to look. And then to find the vertex, that's this part, you're going to take your, whatever you get for your axis of symmetry, plug it in to the equation to find y. All right? So let's do that. Let's try this. Seems a little weird at first. You'll get the hang of this. All right, so I'm just going to switch colors here. Okay, x equals opposite of b over 2a. Okay, so this is going to be the opposite of b. Here's b. That's negative 12, so I'm going to write positive 12 over 2. That 2 is always going to be there. That's part of the formula. 2 times a, which is negative 4. Okay, so this is 12 over negative 8. So what the heck is that? You want to maybe type that into your calculator if you're not sure. So okay, 12 divided by negative 8. Well, it's a relatively nice number, so we'll use that. Negative 1.5. X equals negative 1.5. So this is your axis of symmetry. I want to make sure I have that x equals negative 1.5. Don't just write 1.5, need the x equals. Okay, once you find that, now what you're going to do is you're going to take this value and plug it in for x, wherever you see the x. Okay, so that's what we're going to do, is I'm going to find the y, right? Because it says y right here. So we know what x is, so I can go y equals negative 4 times negative 1.5 squared minus 12 times negative 1.5 minus 3. Now, I would strongly recommend that you write it out just like that, because if you do that, all you have to then do is type this into your calculator exactly how you see it, okay? So that's what I'm going to do here. Okay, negative 4 times negative 1.5, put them in parentheses, don't forget that's squared, and then let's see if I can remember this rest of this, negative 12 minus 12 times negative 1.5 minus 3, right? Was it minus 3? Yes. Okay, so now I get, if I hit enter, I get 6. Okay, so that's the y value. So y equals 6. So now I know my vertex, my x value is going to be the same as my axis of symmetry because that passes through the vertex. So it's going to be negative 1.5. Now the y value is 6. And there we go. We've got it. So when you see up here, what this says is axis of symmetry, x equals negative b over 2a. That's what you get. And then this means this is your x. These are going to be the same. And then you're going to plug in to get to the y. Okay? So that's what all that means. I hope that makes some sense. Let's try another one here. Okay, so x equals opposite of b. So negative 42 over 2 times a. This would be negative 42 over 6, which is, I'm going to write it on this, negative 7. So my axis of symmetry is negative 7. Okay, vertex, I already know that I'm halfway there, so I just need to find the y value. So let's, I can plug in here. Okay. 3 times negative 7 squared plus 42 times negative 7 plus 21. (42) times negative 7 plus 21. Don't forget to put things in parentheses, especially when you have those negatives in there, otherwise you're going to get something wrong. So I get negative 126. You might say, that doesn't seem right. It is, okay? Take your time, see if you're doing these things, but just because you get a big number doesn't mean it's wrong, okay? So this is negative 126. And so my vertex would be negative 7 comma negative 126. Okay. Hope that makes sense. This is how you find the vertex and the axis of symmetry. And we'll start to put that into a graph next time. But your job today is to try that assignment. Don't forget to write this into your student assignment book, your planner, and then check it off when you get it done and submitted. Okay? See ya.